Okay.
All right. So it is great to be here with Medyhne from Arise Humanity. Check out her YouTube channel. There's so much great stuff on there.
Thank you. Thank you.
It really is. And it's great to connect. It's been a wee while.
It has been. Your Scottish is coming out there a wee while.
A wee while, Lossie.
Your Scottish ancestry.
Don't
You're
get me
funny,
started on bad accents. And so we've been, gosh, we will no doubt travel a bit of a journey in this conversation.
Yes.
And I do want to hear what's happening in my home country, what's
Lovely.
going on in Oz.
Yes.
And also, I just want to touch on what we've just had a private chat about, which is that thing of, I was just saying, we're up for, okay, what's next? We're asking what's coming next. And you've just been through that yourself, correct?
I have been. I still feel like in terms of my work or there's something else that's imminent because I've just moved completely to a new place and it's a different energy and it's like a reset. So even though I'm still doing some of the same things, I've still got, clients globally that I see and everything. There's something else I think that's waiting to be birthed through this new energy that I'm in. And that's what you're saying too, that you're feeling there's a new energy about to come through for you that's going to present something.
Absolutely. Like where we are is so remote and so isolated, and that has been amazing. And
Yes.
we felt for a little while that brewing of wanting more connection, and yet we both know it's actually not here. And even though this place is so incredibly beautiful, there is something else.
It's funny, isn't it? It's just something that's not quite right in terms of longevity. And it's like, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what that is, but it's like an energy that's not quite in alignment for this moment. And it's not like there's anything wrong, but it's just not the sort of thing that you're going to be able to perpetuate with your energy.
Absolutely. And I think, that's worth mentioning for people too, that when it's not resonating and you're looking at where you are, it may be that it's time for a move. It may be that it's time for
Absolutely.
something
That's
different.
happening a lot to people. I mean, for me, it came up really quickly. I mean, also it was true that my rental lease was coming up as well, the end of that. So that was also an indicator. But it just felt like it wasn't in alignment anymore all of a sudden, because it was coming up and we're thinking, well, we won't, and then it became really clear really quickly that it was time to move. And then so we put out to the universe, I want something equivalent or even better. And then I found basically one option of a house in the whole of Queensland, New South Wales that resonated. One option, one house. And so I put out to the universe that if this is in our highest good, for our journey forward, please make this place available. And in the midst of everything, there's so much demand for rentals everywhere here at the moment. We got the exact place and now we're in it. And it happened really quickly within weeks. Boom, 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 boom. We're here now and it's at a higher frequency than where I was. It's better than where I was. And I didn't know that I'd be able to even replicate what I had before because it was so amazing. It was so beautiful. We had our own beach. It was just gorgeous. But this here where we are now is even better. So it's amazing, what you can manifest. And, I think too, energetically, you don't go backwards. You go forwards. If you're working on yourself and you're raising your frequency, things get better and they improve. And that's what happened to us. And just very grateful to the universe because I didn't know how it would happen, but it just manifested and we're really happy here.
Yeah. And that, like the elements of that come really into that trusting you, being able to connect with that deep intuition. So it's your body, it's your spirit, it's the connection to source, however you perceive that. and
Yeah,
and then running with that and having the courage to run with that. Because
totally.
oftentimes it can feel, oh, these times are so topsy-turvy, for want of another word,
Yes, yes.
that I'll just stay put.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like the fear can make you freeze, like paralysis type thing. But it's so important to trust that flow, because there is a lot of guidance for people to move in alignment with the shifting in all the energies that are happening. And, it was really funny. It was sort of inverted, because I wanted to go to a place that had more community. And where we were going to, some people said, oh, there was a few people that said, oh, maybe it won't be, it'll be a bit isolated, or blah, 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 blah. And oh my goodness, it is the best community we've ever landed in terms of the cohesiveness, the unity, the friendliness, the warmth. Best community. And I specifically put out there that in my intention that I wanted a more sort of unified community to be living in. So it's amazing what your intention can do.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? It really
Yeah.
is. So trust. So let's go to what's going on in Oz.
Well, this is a very good question. How long have you got? How long is a piece of string?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny because I was just specifically watching a video by two friends that are overseas that do videos, Eldora Rose and Simon, and they talked about how everything was going to be emanating from Australia in terms of the liberation of the planet. It was going to Australia and Uluru, the big rock in the Northern Territory, was like a birthplace of for humanity, for everything that was going to happen, because they talk about how the rock is the solar plexus, which is the power center. So when you trigger the empowerment of humanity, where the foundation of the solar plexus is for the planet, which is Australia, you actually trigger the liberation and the freedom of all of humanity and the ascension. So when they said that, I thought about we had protests here in Canberra, and there were at least, by accounts of people there, at least 1 million people there. Now, there's only about 26 million people in Australia, so that's a huge percentage of the population that were presented. And when you say that they calculate that 1 in 10 people are represented when they go to a protest. So there's another 10 people that want to be there. So when you think about that, and that there were 1 million people there at Canberra saying that they were no longer supporting the government and the choices that have been made for the people, that is a huge statement for one country. And so it was emanating. And then from that, I think the Canadian truckers were after that, they did their thing after that as well. So in a sense, it did emanate here. And then now we've got things like, we've just had our election, and of course the writs weren't fulfilled, which is part of the voting process, and the whole thing was completely corrupt on so many levels. The people that were there to surveil the voting, that they had no idea what they were doing, a lot of them, and they were telling people not to fill in boxes of some of the the independent freedom politicians that were supposed to be in the voting process. So there's all this stuff that happened. It was quite a echo of what happened in America with the whole saga there, and the voting and the Dominion voting and all that sort of stuff. So it was a completely fake election. And then so that was interesting. And then now we've got different things happening which seem to be positive. There's different little stories coming out. The Northern Territory just shut down the quarantine facilities and have shut down on the COVID regulations, which is really positive. There's, the flight mandates for vaccines for people. We'll have to edit that, sorry. The flight mandates for jabs for people coming into the country have been stopped. And there's some positive developments that are trickling out. And I just do think with all the information coming about the adverse reactions to this, and the truth about this coming out, that it is highly nefarious, there's trickling out more and more because people are knowing other people that have had it and things are happening to them. They're hearing it firsthand through family and friends, and that's often, I think, what triggers people that until this point haven't been able to hear the truth of what's really going on. So I think that there is an accelerated awakening happening here, and I think that we're seeing different small symbolic aspects of that coming out. And in terms of there's a lot of information going out there now too about the chemtrails that are being released, and there was in fact a video that just came out, and they said 193 different forms of these things have been released and have been approved to release since a few years ago in Australia. And really incredibly dodgy stuff that they're releasing. This video goes through and says all the names and how it's been proved. So it's definitely factual. And so people are starting to realize about that more and more as well, and how this is creating the geoengineering that therefore has created all the floods down the east of Australia, and then how this is related to the authorities wanting to relocate people due to the smart cities and blah 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 blah. So people are putting two and two together more and more, especially when it affects them. And so I do feel that Australia is really, the lights are going on.
That is good to hear. It was interesting a little while ago, and I cannot remember whether it was New Zealand or Australia, but I found a geoengineering site that was just quite openly about cloud seeding. It wasn't a conspiracy or anything like that. They were actually talking about what they were doing with that. So it's I find that, and I know in this country there's still a long way to go with the waking up, but definitely more and more people are twigging. And things like, I was with family recently, or Rick's family, and we were talking and looking at BlackRock. And that was really interesting. And they're major shareholders of the Commonwealth Bank and the ANZ Bank now.
Oh, what a surprise.
Exactly.
So surprised.
And the ANZ was funny because I was asked to have a look at the ANZ, and I said, oh, May and June that went on this year. So that's joined the fray. So there's so much of that insidious stuff there that it is becoming undeniable to so many more people. And I don't know why we have to go through it in this way, but it does appear that this is what has to happen. And that need for, I was talking with my partner about this just before, about polarity, and that getting too caught up in the good and the bad and how far you don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
That's true.
For your own, not just your own sanity, but connecting with the new reality and creating the new reality. Your description of what you did in moving there, that was creating the new reality. You're now living in a very different not that your reality was bad before, but you've moved even, you know, to a higher
Higher
vibration,
reality. That's right.
higher frequency, that kind of
Mhm.
thing, bringing in the elements of what you're asking for. And that is so important. It is such a
Ah,
priority.
so true, so true. There's different dimensional realms, and you can get hooked into the dimensional realm of all this 3D information, and that's just
Yeah.
going to keep your frequency lower. So you can be aware of it, and it's good to be aware of it, what's going on, but also be aware that there is a higher dimensional realm that you can hook into that is going to create a much more higher reality for yourself.
Yeah.
So you want to be sure to be predominantly keeping your energy in this higher sort of paradigm, because that all the, you know, disinformation and the fear porn and all the different narratives on everything, all that sort of stuff, fascinating and actually can be quite addictive, but
Absolutely.
it's not going to keep you in those high levels. I mean, the other thing I wanted to say too with all this that's happening is I think that my feeling is the deep state, or, you know, whatever you want to call them, the controllers or whatever, they're running out of money too, because there was a New South Wales pilots that were doing the chemtrails that said they weren't being paid for quite a while now. They haven't been paid, and they're going to stop or protest against doing them because they haven't been paid for quite a period of time. So I do feel that part of the transition is that the nefarious sources are running out of funds. And so that's another great thing that's transitioning us into a new age, because they can't continue with those activities in the same way.
Yeah. And I think too, like it's really interesting looking. I don't know if you get info on some of the experiments that Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing. There was one recently that just really lit me up with the plasmoids, so bacteria that had been programmed to turn red or green as a result of
Can you tell me
outside
about that
energies.
in a bit more depth? Explain that to me, just so
Yes.
because I'm not aware of that particular experiment.
So a professor approached him and
Yeah.
said, we have these plasmoids. So they are a bacteria that we have in the lab, and we've created them and we have programmed them to have a response to the energies outside them.
Right.
Yeah. And we would like you to take them into an advanced retreat and see what happens. Can you influence the red or green? Can you influence that? And so he said yes. Now the first round of the experiment has happened, and they didn't tell the participants until the last day. And what was interesting, those plasmoids were actually in the room where all of the coherence healing and the meditations and the teaching went on. And they turned like, you know, that pinky brown when
Yes.
you join green. So they turned that over the week with the energies that were there.
Yes.
And then on the last day, he told people about them and then said, what I'd like you to do is connect, you know, heart-brain coherence, go to the field and love green like you've never loved green before. And he said it was incredibly moving. There were people that had tears in their eyes, and it wasn't really from the loving the green as much as knowing that they were creating the future.
Right.
And the results, the first round of the results had come through, and a whole heap of them had turned green within a few hours.
Yes.
So what that is telling us is that with coherence, a group of people can actually alter the genetic structure of another species.
Amazing.
That's pretty wild. Like
That
when
is.
you sit with that, that's like, wow. Like, and we know stuff is possible, but there is something about when people experiment that makes me, anyway, I'm a bit of a nerdy like that. I just go, what? And that's what led me to do this 30 plus, however long I want to keep going, you know, days of money magnet meditations, because there is so much fear mongering and the reality of in New Zealand, because the government charges 50% tax on petrol. Our petrol is $3.31.
Wow. Well, it's
a
not
litre.
quite as bad here in Australia, but it's still pretty bad.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
always been more expensive here.
Yes.
And so it's, you know, like those kind of things. And when you go and do the shopping and you're going, oh,
Mm,
what? That for that? $100 for a couple of bags?
yeah.
Yeah, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to experiment more with this. Something got switched on when I read about that experiment more than ever before, you know, because it's not like I haven't played with this. It's not like I'm not doing work and all the rest of it. Something really changed. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to share that out publicly.
Fantastic.
And,
And do
and
30 days of these. So you've got the 30 days on your YouTube channel for people
yeah,
to join to do them every day.
yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah. And I've also got a Facebook group with quite a lot of people in it. So I'm screening it to that private Facebook group and as well, and just thought, right, this is the time. And I had other names and elements I was going to, and I thought, no, just call it Money Magnet. Just go really simple and straight to the core.
Fantastic.
And you've already done one. Like, it's not just about it is about deep connection with yourself and
That's right.
source
That's
and
right. I love how you're saying that you actually, the feelings that you feel for someone that you love, you know, being able to direct them at your money and your abundance and your cash and your income, that same frequency, that same energy. People forget that because they think it's inanimate. They don't do that, but it's the same thing. It's the same, putting the energy there. And I also think it's a great focus at the minute, because you're right, there is so much fear around money and abundance and what's happening on the planet, because, you know, in a sense, you know, people are very much talking about the crash of the potential crash of the economy, due to a deconstruction of everything, of all the systems that we've been used to, in order to create a whole new world and a whole new system. So that is creating a lot of fear in itself. But, you know, there is also talk that behind the scenes, there's already been set up a replacement that's of a far superior, better system for all of humanity, ready to go when the other one devolves. So, you know, by visualizing abundance and that, you know, positive outcomes for this, we can also recreate that so that the new one slots in place beautifully when the old one leaves, rather than, you know, having chaos and a gap.
Exactly. And that the transition is easier, because
Yes.
we know that when we're in the flow, when we're connecting, that everything is easier and magic happens. It
Yes.
just
The
does.
flow. I love that flow. You know, the
Yes.
synchronicities that come in and into your field,
Yeah.
and everything just lines up. It's sort of like it's effortless. You don't have to, you don't have to, you know, it's funny, isn't it, too? Because like anything that doesn't align or doesn't flow with ease, it's about, you know, releasing that, letting it go. You know, there was a course I thought, oh, that might be quite good just to do a few days of this. And I tried it, just didn't energetically align at all. And so I just let it go and release any attachment to that. So, you know, just being really open to being in the flow with your higher self and your intuition and the quantum field around you, which is all part of that.
Absolutely. And and then if we want to get even a bit more woo-woo,
Love it. Let's do it.
the multi-dimensional factors. So really, if time is a construct and everything's going on at the same time,
Yes.
we've already sorted all this.
That's
We're
right. Been
already in
there,
a,
done that.
yes, it's already done. There
That's
is
right.
a reality where you have abundance. And I've been having dreams lately that it's quite funny. And there are some dreams where it truly has to be tapping into another dimension, because
Yes.
the
Right.
information is like, this is not a dream. I'm observing myself. And it was so funny because a few weeks back I had this dream, and my current partner and I, Rick and I, are in this other reality, and we're super wealthy. Like it
Yes.
was
Yes.
mega. It was mega, and it was hilarious. And there were some crazy things went on. It was really, but not that crazy dream thing as much as, oh wow,
So
like
it
the
felt real, like it was
very, oh my goodness,
sometimes
yeah.
dreams feel more real than the reality that we exist in,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah. And that thing of like, there was a person in the dream that I changed, someone who wanted to harm, who totally changed from my energy, from
Right.
what I was willing to be energetically. That was really interesting. And a couple of days later, so I'm still in the same dream, but it's a couple of days later, I am having a conversation with that person, and they're
Wow.
telling me about how everything changed when they
Wow.
connected with me.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So you connected first on those other realms, and then it changed them in the 3D reality that they're familiar with. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we're doing that, aren't we? We're going out on the astral, or on the when we're sleeping, and we're creating this profound shifting and changing, and then it's trickling straight down into our 3D reality.
Yeah. Well, like just when we look at that experiment that went on, if a group of people in coherence, and something that I just also want to stress that he stressed was, it is not about the number of
No,
people
no.
as much as the coherence. And that's something with these money magnet meditations that I want to build the group. And like I'm already talking about, we are co-creating a new financial reality. This is a different
Absolutely. Absolutely.
way.
It reminds me of, because I have a wonderful online community, Patreon community. I'd love people to join if they're interested. But we have, as part of that, people can join a soul healing group, and we do healing for Australia, globally, and for ourselves. And for example, we did the most incredible healing on Tuesday. This one just passed, where we went in and we did these statements, invocations, and we doused our energetic field, like our aura, at the beginning. And it was like, the general rule for most people is around 6 foot. And then after we'd done all these amazing healing techniques, it was up to like in the 20s, 20 feet, because of these profound healing shifts that we created together doing this work. It was the most amazing session. If people want to actually do it, they can join my Patreon, because I'm going to post the video on there. But
I'll put a link to that.
yes, yeah, thank you. And we also did things like, we did a healing on Canberra quite a few months ago. And then a few days later, there was this giant lightning bolt that came and was in the papers. It hit the top of the spire at Canberra, straight, just a short time after we'd done this huge clearing in Canberra. And it felt like that was some energetic sign, because of all this work we've done on it. So, you do get confirmation and affirmations, when you do this work. And so, yeah, just fantastic. I've done about 30 soul healing sessions now over the last, year or so. So it's, yeah, and when you add up all the people that combine their energies to do that, then it will be really profound. And then everyone around the world doing that, in their groups and everything. Just imagine
Exactly.
the impact of all that.
And I think that's what we're seeing,
Yes.
because no matter what really does astound me, and I never kind of cease being absolutely amazed by it, is no matter what's going on, and if I've listened to stuff and I've listened to too much stuff. And I'm like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, you
Or,
can't
you know,
unhear
some
things, can
laws
you?
get passed or whatever, and you're
Yeah.
going, what?
No, yeah.
Whenever I get present and I go into that coherence space,
Mhm.
I always feel really positive.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly. And in truth, it's not really actually part, if you're reading a story about something, it's not necessarily actually part of your reality in a sense, because your reality is the world around you. So if you focus on that present moment and just creating the best reality within your field that's around you that you can, then that's sort of like an illusion anyway, the other stuff, you know what I mean?
yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that, you know, like I think that kind of stuff is so essential for our mental health,
Oh,
as well
emotional,
as the
mental, spiritual,
yes,
physical.
yeah,
Yes,
everything
totally.
on every level, on every
Totally.
level. You know, it's including the physical, because that those kind of things, and we were talking about this just before too, that affects your health. Like it affects your
Mm,
body. Too
really.
much of that, and if
Mm,
you know, anytime those cortisol levels rise, you
yes.
are doing a major disservice to your body. You're creating ill health. And so we have to be really aware with that too. And I love when, because you can look at the all of the magic, the woo-woo and the energetics, and there's a heck of a lot of really pragmatic reality stuff with our body wisdom that shows us what we need to be doing.
And it's funny that you mentioned cortisol levels, because that was part of the invocation statements. We actually talked to our cortisol levels and we optimized our cortisol levels in that healing that we did. So we talked to our body to create the best
Yeah.
outcomes with all the different systems in the body, and everything is amazing. But yeah, it's your body is such a reflection of your mental and emotional state, and it will talk to you, and it loves you so much that it's there to be a like a what's it called when you translate a language, a translator of what's working and what's not working, and what you need to shift and what you need to let go of, that perhaps is an old pattern that you've carried in through many lifetimes, that it's time to let go of. And now's the moment, isn't it, to just sort of
Yeah.
let go of so much old stuff and old patterning, old belief systems, old attachments that no longer serve us as we're going into this new energy.
Now is the time.
Yes, totally.
Totally.
I know that I'm having to upgrade my habits with food.
Mm.
I know I have to get things like, you know, be really aware of different things. For example, the water here in the shower, I can sort of, there's some sort of element in there that's not aligning with my skin and my body. So I need to get a filter for my shower, put it on there, you know, different things like that, to just be really tuned into all the ways that we need to assist our bodies to be able to be at their highest optimal level.
Absolutely. I think the food thing, because food has always been a big thing in my life, you know, and a
Mm.
big joy and a big weapon and
I
all
think
of that.
everyone, yeah, yeah.
And recently, like, I literally cannot eat as much as I was,
I can't
because
either.
my body will actually get super ill, like
Yes.
super ill.
And feel
And
sick, like really full,
yeah, yeah,
with just small
absolutely.
amounts. I'm the same. It's funny, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like our bodies can't um, digest or break down food in the same way that it used to, and so we can't have as much.
Yeah. And it's really interesting where we've gone into this. It's not going to bed when the sun goes down. It's like getting off devices and stuff. And we haven't been perfect, but we've been like really, really, really good with it. And
Fantastic.
and
Yeah.
and so, and doing like the 16-8 with food, and that, like, that is just changing so much. It's
I'm not sure. What's the
really,
16-8 again?
so with the fasting, intermittent fasting,
Oh,
so
16
you
hours.
you only eat within an 8-hour window,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And it's the idea that go for it, eat what you like, like eat as much as you like. But what happens is when your body's getting more rest, all of this, you actually can't eat what you
No,
think
no, that's true.
that you
And
could.
another really interesting point too that a friend of mine mentioned the other day in a session that we did was that, organically humans, when the sun goes down, when there was no electricity, that was when they sort of organically stopped eating, and the bodies
Yes.
were just breaking down everything and digesting it. So with the advent of electricity, we eat later, and it's an
Absolutely.
artificial time for the body to be digesting, because that period of time where after the sun goes down is meant to be for your body to just be able to absorb all the nutrients and to digest everything. So if you keep eating, it doesn't give the body a chance to
No.
do that. And then when you think on top of that, the artificial foods and the inorganic foods that we've been eating, that again the body has to work so hard to try and break down. You need to, I think, be more organically in alignment with what is natural for the human body to do.
Very much. That's what we went and stayed with a friend, and she is doing this because she had a health diagnosis, quite serious, that she doesn't agree with. And so she's doing a whole range of things. And one of her things is the circadian rhythm. And for her, she's really she's going to bed at 6:30 and 7 o'clock at night. That doesn't really work. We tried, and it wasn't really working for our rhythm. And then I can't remember the author, the Circadian Code, it's called. And I'm doing this book at the moment, and he talks about finding your own rhythm amongst that, your circadian code.
You know what's tricky though, when you have a partner that has a bit of a different rhythm, because I'm an early bird. I like to go to bed early and get up early, whereas he's a musician. He likes to go to bed later and get up later.
Yeah.
So that can make it a bit tricky sometimes.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's why we're both doing it and finding the rhythm of that works.
Maybe that happy medium.
Yeah. Well, no, just what really works with your lifestyle.
Your biorhythms.
Because for me, even like going to bed at 6:30, 7 o'clock, that just didn't work.
I couldn't do that. No.
It just doesn't. And so I'm finding like I definitely want to stop eating between 5 and 6 p.m. And because I'm counting, if I have a cup of tea with honey in it, it's still stuff to be digested. So I don't want to be eating and stuff past that.
Yes.
And then that gives my body plenty of time to break down and then go into the renewal process, because it takes a few hours for your body to actually digest and go through that process. And then we're into renewal. And like these changes, they've been quite radical. They're simple, but they're really challenging to make as well and stick to.
It takes a lot of discipline, doesn't it? A lot of discipline. And I was also reading the amazing what's his name? Don Tolman. He was talking about how when you do a 5-day fast, that gets to the really optimal levels of renewal for your body to basically bring in new cells and just redo the whole body again with new cells after 5 days of fasting. And I think he's talking about a water fast with that. And then you get all this, and it's fantastic for anyone with any health issues, but even just for anybody's body, because it will just rejuvenate itself with that period of time. But my gosh, it takes a lot of discipline to fast for 5 days, doesn't it?
We did that one not so long ago.
Sorry?
We did that not so long ago. We did a
6-day
water fast. That was
so how many days?
6.
Wow, that's great. How did you
And
feel at the end of that?
it actually
Hungry.
raised yeah, that, and it also it raised some deep healing stuff. Like it's really interesting, because I'd read, and I didn't take really any notice of it, that I should have stopped on day 5 because I was feeling really good, and then day 6 actually shifts you into another level.
Wow,
And that
wow.
was like, whoa, oh my God, I can't do anything. I'm really going to have to stop this because I can't actually create anything. It was so full on. So
Amazing.
that's just a word of advice there. 5 days
Yeah.
is really good. And what I highly recommend is, if you can be somewhere tropical and do it with fresh coconut water, that is phenomenal, because you've got all of the electrolytes and
Wow.
everything in there. That we did that in Bali for a few
We
days
actually have
out.
a palm tree on our property with coconut.
Ooh, ooh, well, there you
If I could get
go.
someone to shimmy up the tree and grab
Yeah.
the coconuts, that'd be great. Any takers?
So I just wanted to pick up on something though, like the challenge and the discipline and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if we're really tuning in with our bodies, then it's not as hard as we think. This is the whole thing.
Sure.
It's our mind and
Mm,
our, those,
emotions and the emotional
yes,
body too. Yeah.
that actually kick in with, and it's just, oh, let me just cut off and I'm going to binge watch this, or I'm, like, I mean, I would sit there and there would be a movie on and I would be doing stuff on my phone,
Hmm. Hmm.
and like, just, that is like frying for your brain. Like, you're not giving your
Yeah.
brain space to
Yes.
actually have space and
And
to
I think it's
rejuvenate.
the emotional body too, isn't it, that often
Yeah.
really craves the food? Because I remember talking to a lady many years ago, and she was talking about how when the earth shifts happen, we actually need to be in a state of real emotional stability, because if there are food shortages that occur, that's what really impacts. It's not necessarily the physical body or the hunger so much initially. It's more the emotional reaction, which is that we crave security and emotional happiness through food. And so when the food isn't there, then the emotional body goes into shock and into fear.
Yeah.
And so it's that emotional body that needs the calming and the healing.
Yeah. And that's again where that body connection comes
Mm,
in,
mm,
touching your body, stroking
mm,
your body, like talking to it,
mm.
really deeply connecting with it.
I love
And
you. Saying I love
yes, I love you. I'm
you.
sorry. I'm sorry I'm
Yeah.
not I'm sorry I'm not listening to you all the time. It's like, really, our bodies are this, it's a co-creator. We're here together.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
totally.
not
And
the
it's your
enemy.
best friend. It's your ally, it's your best friend. And if something happens like cancer or something, it's not that the body's doing you harm. The cancer is actually trying to fix you, and
Yeah.
it's trying to help you to rebalance yourself. So the body is never an enemy in any way. It's always working with you to try to get the best outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Definitely.
mm,
So, definitely essential for these times as well is, for me, is that body connection. And it's the body, like when we think about it as well, Medyhne, it's like, it's the body that wants clothes. It's the body that wants to go and do these things, like it's the body, the things that we use money for is all about the body, like
yeah,
it's all
yeah.
and we can go and do courses that are about spiritual growth and connection and everything, but it's always including our body. And much of what's driving the food, the clothing, the shelter, the people you want to connect with, all of that all links in with our bodies, the adventure that we want to have. So disconnecting from the body and not including it in all our creating just doesn't make sense, really, when
No,
you look at
that's
it
why
in
we're
the
incarnated in this 3D physical reality, so that we can experience having a body. And,
yeah,
part of that is experiencing the sensual pleasures that are about having a body, which is also, allowing yourself to enjoy, food,
yes,
and not
yes,
making it into a weaponizing thing, or something where you're judging yourself and kicking yourself on. And, being able to go for a beautiful walk in nature and enjoying the pleasures of that, or, stroking a puppy or whatever, all that
yeah,
physical stuff, that is something to be really treasured in the moment, 100%.
yeah,
When you go for a walk, there's a great thing where to really bring yourself into the moment is to just obviously take your shoes off, but you can also touch leaves as you're walking, and touch things, and just bring yourself fully grounded in that moment, in the physical body, where your body is experiencing it in different ways, not just looking at it, but touching it and things like that.
yeah, definitely. And even the information that you receive, the information that's not words, from the touch of those plants and
Yes.
trees,
Yeah.
etc. Which I think that next time we get together, let's delve more into that side of things with the
Absolutely.
power of pleasure and these
Yes.
bodies, and
Yeah.
and what, what magic actually comes from that, and deepening your spiritual connection with yourself and the planet, and all that.
Ah, that reminds me of a video I saw the other day, Delany. It was beautiful. It's this girl, she was standing next to this tree, and the tree was over here, and she goes, "Touch me, please. Can you touch me, please?" And the tree, did you see that, bent over and touched her on the head? It was adorable. I might try that and see if it
Yes.
works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it wasn't the
definitely.
wind or anything. If anyone out there says, "Oh, it's probably the wind," no, it was
No.
it was a calm, still day. But it literally went over and touched it, because it was feeling the love, and it was magnetizing towards the love and her appreciation of it, and it was wanting to touch it. It was really beautiful.
It truly was. And that really ties in with, like, that slowing down of everything.
Yes, yes. Which is why I moved as well, because it's a slowing down, and a sort of like getting to a more of a internal relaxed space,
Yeah.
in the location, which serves my highest good, to be
Yeah.
able to do that within myself. Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Great
Thanks.
chat. Covered a lot of territory,
We
as
certainly did.
usual.
Really, really fantastic chat. It's been
Yeah.
delightful. I look forward to our next time, and you'll be able to see where you can contact Medyhne, join the Arise Humanity Patreon, all of that down below.
Yes, I'm also offering sessions too, for anyone. I have some spaces available for sessions with people if they want to work on any aspect of their life, and also doing a bit of mentoring too with people, like a 6-week program. So that's
Nice.
great as well for people that
Absolutely.
want to have that continuity.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, Delany. So beautiful to chat
Thank
with
you.
you.
Yeah,
Lots of
you
love.
too.
Thank you.